Hey, how's it going, Vibe Tribe? My name is Parker, back with another reaction video. Today we got If You Live in Freedom, Thank the British Empire. This was requested to me, if I'm not mistaken, by a couple different people. And so, we're gonna check it out. Before Britain Week ends, we're gonna squeeze it in there. I'll be gone for most of the day today, but I'm gonna try to squeeze in another video when I get back home tonight. But I just don't know when that'll be, so that's why I say try. We'll see how I do. I might not make it, but I'm gonna try to get another video out tonight, maybe around like midnight to 2 a.m. America time, or my time, Central time in America. So that would be about 6 to 8 a.m. if you're in the UK. So that would be kind of tomorrow morning if I get that second one out. But anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling. This is, I guess, gonna talk about what the British Empire did with their control and how they persuaded freedom, I suppose. I don't know. We're gonna check it out. Let's hop into it. Alright, let's check it out.
Over the last 400 years, what power has done the most to spread the ideals of limited government, an independent judiciary, certain inalienable rights, and free markets? That power would be the British Empire. It was Britain that gave these ideals to the United States. It was the British Empire, the largest empire the world has ever known, which made these ideals global aspirations. It was the British Empire, along with America, that defended these ideals in two colossal world wars. Freedom was an Englishman's right, and wherever he went, he took that right with him, whether he was an English colonist in America, governing himself through a locally elected assembly, or an English adventurer like Sir Stamford Raffles, creating the free market city-state of Singapore, or an English officer like T.E. Lawrence, leading Arab tribesmen against the Turks. The British always thought of themselves as liberators, as bringers of freedom. The British believed the final and necessary justification of their empire was a moral one. The British kept the peace. They brought sound, honest administration. And they insisted that basic moral standards were honored. The British did not try to nation build in the way we think of it now. They were under no illusions about making Arabs or Afghans or Zulus into Englishmen. They were more than content to leave people alone, to let them be themselves, to govern them with the lightest possible hand. In American history, we remember this when we think of the British Empire's so-called benign neglect. We can see it throughout the history of the British Empire. Think about the vast territory of the Sudan. It was governed by 140 British civil servants. Even Gandhi
All that land with just 140 dudes?
praised the British Empire, paraphrasing Jefferson, saying that he believed that the best government was the government that governed least, and that he found that the British Empire guaranteed his freedom and governed him least of all. In the defense of freedom, the empire drew moral lines. No power did more to abolish slavery and the slave trade in the modern world than did the British Empire. The British Treasury spent enormous sums to liberate slaves and compensate slave owners in the Caribbean.
What time frame did they start doing that? Because I thought... So I know that they were involved in the slave trade at one point. When did it kind of flip? And when did it start becoming their priority to end it? I mean, maybe it was a lot earlier than I know about. I don't really know that specific part of history. Just let me know when Britain started kind of swaying over to stopping the slave trade, I guess.
The Royal Navy had as a primary duty the eradication of the slave trade, and in fact, abolishing the slave trade became a major factor driving the expansion of the British Empire. The British enforced a Pax Britannica, putting down pirates, taming headhunters, and keeping the peace between previously warring tribes and religions. While respecting and often ruling through local leaders, the British still insisted on certain Judeo-Christian moral standards. They were not, in that respect, multiculturalists. They had a firm sense of right and wrong. When Sir Charles Napier was confronted by the practice of suttee, widow burning, in India, he told the Brahmin priests involved that he understood it was their custom. But the British had a custom too. They hanged men who burned women alive, and their goods were confiscated. So if the Brahmins insisted on continuing their tradition of widow burning, then he would insist on following his British tradition of hanging the murderers of widows. Widow burning in India soon ceased.
I see.
But we don't have to dig far into history.
That's clever to be like, you know, I'm not saying you have to get rid of your traditions. I'm just saying that there's rules, and if you break my rules, you're going to get punished. Like, wow.
Into the abolition of slavery and widow burning to find the British Empire on the side of moral right and freedom. We can think of events within our own lifetimes or those of our parents and grandparents. When we think of the two deadliest threats to freedom in the 20th century, we generally think of communism and Nazism. But how many remember that in 1940, after the Hitler-Stalin Pact and after the fall of France, one power, the British Empire, stood alone in mortal combat against the combined tyrannies of the world? Even where the British have merited criticism, as in Ireland, there is more to the imperial story. During negotiations to create the Irish Republic, for instance, British Prime Minister David Lloyd George, who could speak Welsh, reminded the Irish nationalist and Gaelic extremist Eamon de Valera that the Celts never had a word for republic. It was an idea given to them by the English. This is our own history, too. If you love America, you should also love the power that gave us our sense of inalienable rights, rights traceable back to Magna Carta. It all started in America with the British Empire, a great liberty-loving empire. It is the empire's legacy, the English-speaking world, that remains the great global guardian of freedom today. I'm H.W. Crocker for Prager University.
Damn, that's crazy. So much can happen from such a far away place. Like, Britain just, like, everything they did shocks me, sure. Like, just the baseline of everything y'all, like, set up. But what blows my mind even more than that is just how far away, like, the main head was, like, the top of the throne, the government, whatever. How far away all the main central command was compared to all the places you guys had control of. It just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't click in my brain. How do you control all that when you can't communicate very easily? I don't know. I don't know how y'all did it. It's magic. But anyway, that was a good video. I think I'm gonna go ahead. There is a Jimmy Carr video that got recommended to me off one of my Al Murray videos, so I'm gonna check out. It's like Big Narsty or something versus Jimmy Carr, so I'm gonna check that out if I have time tonight, so stay tuned for that. I'll see you there. Till next time, love y'all, peace out, vibes never die.
All we got is a bag in the backseat, and it's love we share, not shabby at all. But the fact is we moving too fast, but the thought passed me when